Good morning, everyone. My name is Cristiano and DK, and we're with Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. We are a group, an international group that works with OpenStreetMap data. Our name, Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, is very tied to what we do. We use OpenStreetMap data for humanitarian action and community development, and we use OSM data and create OSM data in different ways. The data that we create has a direct impact on many humanitarian interventions and projects. We started all the way back in 2010. It was not formally organized as an organization that is today, but that's when we started with the response to the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. The data that we create is used for response, is used for preparing for disasters, and to make the communities more aware of their community's space. To do that, we mostly use a tool that some of you may know. There's also an instance of this tool used within the US, but it's called the Tasking Manager. Does anyone never used the Tasking Manager? No, you all? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we create projects, and there are other organizations that use the platform, and we take the area that we need to map, and then we split it in small grids, small tiles. Every mapper that participates maps that tile, and then when you put them all together, you have a complete map of the entire area that you're trying to map. So this is very efficient, and we engage with online volunteers, remote mappers that can go on this platform and use Imagery to trace the data that then creates the map. So we incredibly rely on Imagery. A lot of the work that is done in HOT and the data is created in OSM relies on Imagery. The problem with that Imagery that maybe most of you don't realize, I hadn't realized really until recently, is that a lot of the imagery is actually non-open imagery, right? We use imagery layers like from Bing or Maxer, Esri, and this image is provided for free, but is not actually open. So we create open data that is created from non-open imagery. And actually, some of that imagery is not available anymore, so there's no way to actually validate data that was created. And these are my personal estimates. I haven't done full research to, validate those numbers, but I mean, from the assessment I've done, that seems like pretty high numbers for, a project that is called, OpenStreetMap, right? So what happens if some of this imagery goes away, right? We use this imagery every day. We trace on that imagery, and actually 3 years ago, one of the key layers of imagery that we were using was called Maxer Premium, provided by Maxer, just turned off overnight. Recently, we had similar issues with Bing, which is the other main imagery layer, which as of June 30th may just go away for a lot of the tools that we're using. I think we still have access for ID, which is the main web mapping tools, but all the other tools that use imagery from Bing may not have access after that because of some issues with the keys or something from Microsoft. We don't know because the image is free, but we don't know, it's not open. So what do? We go back to mapping parties, or have you ever done a mapping party? Do you know what a mapping party is? Yeah, or you actually go out and, with your GPS, that was my E-Trex in 2004, and you actually trace, the points or collect the points that you want to put on the map. Well, we don't necessarily have to do that. With HOT, we develop a workflow we call end-to-end, where we actually collect the imagery that feeds into the remote mapping. we're developing some AI tools. We are integrating field data, and then eventually that data gets becomes available for use and download, right? So we built another tool similar to the tasking manager, but for collecting imagery. So we called it Drone Tasking Manager. We used drones because it's an easy way to collect imagery. We don't have humanitarian satellites yet, but drones work well. So the idea is similar. You take an area, you split it into tasks, and then each drone pilot can go out and collect the imagery. We actually tested it. We came in on Thursday and we went to a place around Boston, and we collected this imagery with a local pilot, Fane. Is Fane here in the room? No, she's great. She collected all this data with her drone. We uploaded it into OpenAreaMap, which we talk in a minute. The imagery becomes available through the same tools that we use for mapping, in this case ID, and we can trace the data and make it available for download. The problem with imagery is that imagery is very heavy compared to vector data or OSM data. The planet is, I don't know.
Don't ask me that.
Anyway, the imagery is like hundreds more times, more heavy, and hard to manage. So in 2015, we started to use drones. There was this support to Tropical Cyclone PM in Vanuatu, where we had the first drone pilot going out and collecting all the imagery. And then, we knew there was all that imagery, but we didn't know how to actually make it available for people to trace and to use. And then the imagery disappeared. They were sent like links to Dropbox, and it was hard. So we came up with the idea of building something not very creative in the name, but a similar project where you would collect aerial imagery and bring it together in the same way that we do with OSM, right? So we call it OpenAreaMap. You can go on OpenAreaMap and search, find, and access the imagery through API. You can download the imagery as a full GeoTIFF, cloud-optimized GeoTIFF, and most importantly, you can contribute. So you can upload imagery into the system. If you go to OpenAreaMap, you see all the places in the world where there's imagery, and for each image you can get a TMS or WMTS image link that you can use in your mapping tools or download the actual file. I'll hand it over to DK for the more technical aspect.
All right. This is actually a bit of an older model, but at Hot, we partner with AWS, and so a lot of our tools are hosted on AWS. OpenAreaMap is a fairly simple infrastructure, and we try to make it very efficient for us to be able to host the imagery and to serve it to users. So when imagery is uploaded, we batch process it with EC2 instances through HCPs, and then it's all stored on S3 at a fairly low cost. And then it's served using, currently actually as of this year, T-Tiler through AWS Lambda. So it's a serverless tile server. And then also our API is hosted on EC2 as well for being able to access the back end and the front end of the map. And so that's how we make it available for direct download or for access as a TMS. So what happens when you upload an image? You've got this GeoTIFF that you've processed in OpenDroneMap or Drone Deploy or whatever, and it gets uploaded to our cloud server. We do compress and optimize it to make sure that it's in cloud-optimized GeoTIFF format, and there aren't like extra bands or anything like that. And then it's saved on a public endpoint or a public S3 server. And this is actually, as of earlier this year, also it is hosted on Amazon's Open Data Program. So it is freely accessible through their registry as well. Yeah, like I said, there's a connection with OpenDroneMap as well. If you're using their WebODM, you can pull an API key from OpenAreaMap connected to your user, and use that to easily share it to Open Aerial Map. This spring, we did partner with DevSeed with support from Cisco. The stack is quite old, our software stack, so we're trying to modernize it a bit. Because we're working with a massive amount of imagery, we don't necessarily need or want to be the sole host of that. We want to enable anyone who has a large amount of imagery to be able to, they host it at their own. It can be ingested into Open Aerial Map, and it can be served. We can handle serving it and make it available as open imagery for use in OpenStreetMap or whatever. So how that works is with the Spatio-Temporal Asset Catalog, which is a catalog, creates standard metadata, makes it highly searchable, highly available through over online. And so we've recently developed, DevSeed has produced a stack catalog through Fast API and made all of our Open Aerial Map data available through that. And so what that means is that we can now we can connect with other stack catalogs. We can ingest, through, I think this is ours, yeah, standard metadata. Yes, other open imagery data programs that also use Stack can now be ingested through Open Aerial Map. So that's with Maxar's Open Data program, as they make some of their imagery available, as well as anything that's on like the Open Data on AWS. Or if you want to host your own, you don't have to necessarily go through the process of uploading all of your imagery into Open Aerial Map. You can just have your bucket, make it available, and connect it to our stack. So I'll finish off talking about why open imagery matters, and why we're doing what we do. Obviously, we want to make imagery easier to find and use quickly, especially in a humanitarian context when a disaster happens, and if we need to collect post-disaster imagery to do damage assessment in an area, we want to be able to get that online as soon as possible and make it available to mappers to do that kind of assessment. So it enables that kind of collaboration and response. It reduces duplication. Making it available to OpenStreetMap mappers as well, to create OpenStreetMap data, any type of other open data that might be useful. We have started playing around with ML and AI applications with this imagery data as well, doing automatic building detection, doing other types of research. And I think more importantly, it doesn't disappear. It's not beholden to any large providers that may have business interests in taking that away or changing how they do things. So that's, I think, for us, a big important part. So yeah, you can get in touch at tech@hotosm.org if you are interested in contributing. You can upload your imagery, fly drones, and make that data open for mapping. You can get involved in the code. And you can set up your own buckets with a stack catalog and connect. Thank you.